Hey guys, my name is xOctoManx and this is part 4 of my Risk game style tutorial about all that territory stuff. In this part we're gonna create some static game objects which will be persistent in between scenes, like a fighting scene and this one. We pass over data we need to, like if you have a battle scene for example, you want to know, or you want to let the game know if the particular area has been overtaken or not, depending if you won the battle or you lost. And while we are doing so, we also want to go over and save and load the data depending on what has been saved before and loaded before, and make sure that we can actually erase the data when we don't need those anymore. Erasing the data might not be interesting for the game itself, since you only want to have one save file, and when the user or the player has made process, you want to make sure that he keeps the process in that particular save file. This will be a binary file, so we're gonna go in serialization as well. And again, we're gonna load back all the data depending on what they are needed to be for us. So actually we are going to store the EXP and the money we might already got in that file, as well as the territories which has been taken over by several tribes, for example, or the player, and so on and so forth. We are not going to do AI at the moment, so at first let's go and do all the saving and loading stuff for the moment. So what I want to create is a new empty game object. This is going to be my game manager, which is taking care of saving, loading, and taking the data back and forth to our needs. And also we're gonna create in our scripts folder a script called game manager as well, and we make this one a static one, since we want to make this one also don't destroy on load. That means we want to make this one persistent in this particular case. We're gonna get rid of start and update for the moment. I believe we don't need that. We need several things to know. At first we want to make this one a static game object. In this particular case we're gonna say public static, it's of type game manager once again, and we call this one just instance, and in void awake we're gonna check if the instance is still the same instance and not another overwritten one. So this is of the kind of singleton design pattern you actually may have noticed already. So what we say, if the instance is going to be equal to null, then we want to make sure that the instance is going to be equal to this. So we'll make this instance, well, the instance of whatever it currently is. Else, if the instance is not equal to this, so it's not this particular loaded game object, is not the instance, then we want to make sure that we destroy it, because there might be another one in the scene, and there will be another one. So we say destroy game object. And after this second one, we're gonna say don't destroy on load. This is a Unity provided function, and what we don't want to destroy is actually this particular game object, which is the game manager object we just created. Okay, don't forget to save. And actually we could also go in and pass over this script already to the game manager object, but beforehand let's just create some variables we need about the fight we might encounter. So at first we want to know what is the attacked territory. Is this going to be of type string? And I call this one attacked territory. We want to store the attacked territory, or let's say attacked country. We store that inside the game manager, and he takes that info to the next scene, does something, and send back the data. And once we are coming back, we read back the data and update whatever the attacked country has been in the loading process. So, and also we want to know from the game manager with a bool, does this particular battle has been ended. So battle has ended. So we want to have in return a true or false. If it is false, well, then we know that we haven't done any battle. And if it's true, then of course we know we need to update everything. And the same for a battle won. So if the battle we just have been fighted in has been won, we're gonna get this one as true as well, and we're gonna react to it. So we want to make sure that we have that two bools directly in the game manager instance or game manager object. Okay. About saving and loading, we're gonna need to create another class which is serializable later on as well. Basically it needs to be serializable because we're gonna pass all the data we need directly in that serializable class. And yeah, save it with that and also load it back to that. So I call this class just maybe save data class. Open close parentheses is not needed. We just open close that curly braces or brackets. And what we want to create inside is a public list. And the type is going to be country. So the country, which is actually just holding all the names, the tribes, and the money rewards. So we're gonna read out the data later on from the particular objects directly stored in the country manager. As we can see here, it's going to be stored in that list. We're gonna take the data directly from that objects list and pass the data directly into the save data function in here. So what we can actually call this one is saved countries. And we can actually also start to create a new public list in this particular case, a new list, type country, open close parentheses and close the line with a semicolon. Also, as I said before, we want to make sure that we serialize this class. So we say system.serializable. Don't forget to save. And of course, we want to store the EXP we've already got and the money. So public int, maybe car underscore money. It doesn't really matter how you need this. And of course for the EXP as well, so public int car underscore EXP. Okay, and now we can go into and create a new saving and a new loading function for this one. So let's start with the saving at first. We're gonna create a new function, of course. It's of type void since we don't return anything, and we need to make sure that this one is a public function since we need to have access from outside later on. I just call this one saving, open close parentheses and open close curly brackets. So at first we're gonna create a new instance or a new local variable of kind of saved data, and we call this one just data, and we're gonna create a new one. So we say new saved data. So we have directly the possibility to pass in all the data we need into the save data class we just created already in here, and we can now go through the complete country manager and get all the important information we need to pass into that save data. What we can do is actually we say country manager dot instance, because we need to go into that instance and we need to read out the list which is holding all the country infos. So, but we need to loop through the complete list, so we create a little for loop for this one. So we say for int I equals 0. I believe we could also use a for each loop. Oh, actually, it doesn't really matter. While I is smaller than the country manager dot instance dot, and here we're gonna have the country list, and we want to know how long it is. Dot count. We're gonna increment I. So, and while we are in that for loop, we want to get all the data we need for our saved countries list in here, which is of type country and not of the game object type. But that is not so not so hard to understand. So at first we say we want to write in that into the data, into the saved countries, and we want to add data. And which data we want to add is, once again, the country manager dot instance dot, once again, the country list. Then we're gonna go through it by the letter I, which is the usual way. Then we want to get its component, which is of type country handler. And let me go a bit to the right to see it better. Open close parentheses after the triangle bracket after that. And once we are inside, we want to get everything about the country which is written inside that. And that's it. So we store all the data from the particular countries inside the data class, and then we're good to go. And later on, of course, we need to store the money and EXP values as well for the player itself. So we need to take care of this one maybe a bit later on. Now we want to format this one into a binary formatter, but we cannot use that directly. We need to add or implement some more namespaces which holding all the data. So the first one is going to be using system.runtime.serialization.formatters.binary. So we're gonna take and use the binary formatter, and to have write and read access, we're gonna need system.io for input output in this particular case. So now we can call the binary formatter, as you can see here. We create a new instance of this one, call this one just BF. It's going to be equal to new binary formatter, open close parentheses, and close the line again with a semicolon. Also, what we need is a file stream which is actually holding the data and the data path we are writing in. So we create a new file stream. Just call this one stream. Gonna say equal to, and inside we're gonna create a new file stream. And in open close parentheses, we can actually pass in the save file path and the mode we're gonna use while using that. So in this case, we're gonna use the application dot persistent data path, which is always the same on everything except for web. This is everything working everywhere else, just not for web. I'm gonna create a save file .octo. You can use save file .save, .load, .whatever, .gmd, I don't know, or .dat if you like to. It doesn't really matter. For me, it's just an octo file because it's me and it's my file. So, and in the very end, I say file mode .create. So I'm gonna create a new file in this or with that file stream. In the next line, we want to serialize the data. So we say bf.serialize, open close parentheses, and inside we need to serialize using the stream, comma, and of course we want to serialize the data. Data in this case again is the value you just created over here, or we just did. So the new save data class actually, or public field, or actually a local field in this case, with all the data we just passed over inside. Again, we're gonna need to do that with money and EXP as well. And after we are done with serializing, we say stream dot close, open close parentheses, and at the very end we can also print a message, something like print, and in quotes we can say just saved game. So we know later on when this function has been called, we know, okay, the data has been saved. Okay, don't forget to save the script. And the next one is going to be the loading function. It's actually a bit longer than this one, but it's just because we have to pass the data back to the country manager, of course. So we need to loop through that as well and put the data into the right spot. After we have done that, so the game actually knows which is the right territory we have just overtaken, and update this one according to the loaded function, or the loaded content in this case. Before we gonna go into loading, let's create two more variables which are going to be public as well. In this case of type integer for the exp and the money. That means the game manager is actually taking care of exp and money as well, and take the amount, whatever you currently have, with it into the fighting scenes and later on back into the country selection scene. Also, we want to make sure that we are saving them directly in the data structure when we are serializing all that. So we say data.currentExp is going to be equal to exp, and the same for the money. We're gonna say data.currentMoney is going to be equal to money. Later on, when we have won or lost, we're gonna set that money amount directly from, or actually to, the game manager, and then save the data directly inside of that. Okay, so let's go into loading. We're gonna create a new function called just loading and open close curly braces. And what we want to do is, before we load, we want to make sure that the file we are actually requesting is existing in the data structure, or actually on your mobile device or even on the PC. So what we're going to do is we create a little if statement and we say file.exist. So if this file is going to be existing on the system you are currently at the path application dot persistent data path, and then plus, and in quotes once again the same name, save file .octo. And while this is going to be true, or when this at the particular point is going to be true, we're gonna go forward and load the data now. So what we do is, at first we create a binary formatter once again, since we need to do everything backwards now. So which is going to be, of course, a new binary formatter, open close parentheses and semicolon, and same for the file stream. So we're gonna create a new file stream, and we're gonna name this one stream once again. It's going to be equal to, and now it is going to be, of course, a new file stream, and in open close parentheses we're gonna say application dot persistent data path plus, and in quotes slash save file dot octo. And of course what we want to do is we want to set the file mode, and in this case it's going to be file mode dot open, since we want to read the data. So after we have done that, we want to deserialize the save data class and pass that into a new instance of save data in this case. So we say save data, call this one data is going to be equal to, and now we need to typecast the deserialization process. So at first we say we typecast whatever it's coming into save data, because otherwise we would get an object in return. We don't need to. bf.deserialize, and what do we want to deserialize? Well, everything which is inside stream. Okay, and what the most important one is, a lot of people are failing at and get an IO exception, is you need to close the stream at this point. So stream.close, open close parentheses and close the line with a semicolon. If you forget this line, you will lose, or actually you will miss important things, and actually you will get an IO exception that you are not able to open or close or read the data because the file stream has not been closed at this point. You try to type in or you read out, depending on whatever it's currently on. Okay, so now we want to pass all the data from the saved countries list, actually, which is currently in the saved data. We want to pass this data directly back to the country manager's country list and pass into the complete correct terrains, who has overtaken which terrain. Like if the player has been has attacked one of those things, we want to make sure that we load that according to whatever the countries are, and we want to do that for all the countries in the scene. So we loop through that by a nested for loop. But before we do that, we're gonna loop through the length of the stored data directly in the saved countries. So we're gonna create a new for loop for this. Int I is going to be equal to 0, and while 0 while I is smaller than data dot saved countries dot count. So the length, so the length of the list, we want to make sure that we increment I. Now we're gonna open close curly braces, and in between that we're gonna create another for loop, because we need to loop through the country manager list, our country list as well. So it's going to be int j is going to be equal to 0, and while j is smaller than the country manager dot instance dot country list dot count, so the length of that one, we want to increment j. And now, while we are doing all of that stuff, we want to set the data back if the country manager, the saved country's name is matching the country manager's instance or game object which is stored in the country list. Okay, so we need that if statement at first. So we say if the data dot saved countries in square brackets I dot name is equal to, so it's matching the country manager dot instance dot country list in square brackets j dot. And what we now need to do is we need to get the component from the country handler, because we need to read the country's name. So we say get component, open close triangle brackets inside, it's of type country handler, then open close parentheses after this one, dot, then we're gonna take country, which is the public field inside every country, dot name. So if that name of the saved data country, of the saved country's name actually, which is looping through that, is matching the same as the one which is stored in the country manager game objects list, and in its country handler with a correct name, only then we want to pass the data according to that back into the country manager's list. Because of that. Okay, so and how can we do that? Actually, we just set country manager dot instance dot then again the country list in square brackets j dot. Now again we need to get the component. We could also go in and catch the data for the country handler in this case. Country handler, open close parentheses, dot country is going to be equal to, so we set this one to data dot saved countries in square brackets I. So what we're gonna do in here is the one we currently are in with the letter I, which however, whatever country is stored in this one, we need to pass this one directly back into the country public field actually, so of that particular game object. And we're gonna get that one directly from that and set this one back to the saved, set this one back however it has been saved in wherever we are currently looping through. Okay. So once that is done, we can also set the EXP and the money back, but we need to do that outside of the for loop we just created in here. So we set the EXP is going to be equal to data.current EXP, and the same for the money is going to be equal to data.current money. Okay, that's nice. And the next one is we want to tint the countries after we are done loading the scene. And while we are tinting those, we just want to make sure that all of them are actually correctly showing us the content actually. So what we say is country manager.instance dot and now we should have tint countries in here, and we call that. If you don't have this one at this particular point, make sure you go to the country manager and make sure that tint countries is a public function. So this is basically everything for loading. So we can also go in and print some messages, something like print in quotes game loaded. So we can later on control the process. And after that if statement, we can also pass over anything else if we like. Something like, once again, print no save file found, because it's not existing at that particular point. Don't forget to save. You could also go in later on maybe and call the save function from this one at this point, but we will do that a bit different, so we are not creating the save file after or actually saving over whatever we have loaded, because we need to do that a bit later on. Or actually we're gonna plan this ahead. This would only work actually when the save file is not even existing in the system. Otherwise, this here would not come in place. Okay, so now let's go forward and create a delete function. So we are able to delete the save file if we don't need that. So, and what we want to do for this is, of course, we create another public one. You might not go into deleting stuff, but later on you might want to have access to this, even for debugging, and maybe you want the player to be able to delete the process he already has. I don't know why he might need that, but he could also go and restart the game, for example. So public void delete save file is going to be the name. And what we're gonna do is actually we request once again if the save file is actually existing. Only then we're gonna do whatever is inside that if statement. And what is inside, of course, we're gonna call file .delete. And what do we want to delete? Again, it's going to be all the same stuff. It's application dot persistent data path. Then we're gonna say again plus, then in quotes a slash, and then save file .octo, or whatever your save file name is. Don't forget to delete the, or actually complete the line with a semicolon. What you can also do is you can print once again a message. Print open close parentheses inside in quotes game or save file deleted. And what you can also do is when you're on Android, for example, you might want to restart the scene so everything can be restarted as well. Or you might want to restart the game at this particular point. One possibility is just using Unity Engine.scene management in this case for this namespace, so make sure you have this one. And what you want to say is scene manager dot, now we want to load a scene, and if you want to load the right or actually the current scene or reload the current scene, you can just call once again scene manager dot get active scene. And then open close parentheses, or basically after the open close parentheses, we're gonna pass in the name of this one. So what you're gonna read is actually the name of the current scene you are actually in. And so you would automatically reload the scene, would start with a whole process, and actually with a whole game, everything would be empty or should. Okay, now we can go forward with the simulation of the fighting scene. Which we are going in when we're pressing that, and we're gonna load and save the files whenever we need to. We're gonna manage that in between the code we currently have, And of course we want to make sure that we get our reward when we have won the battle actually. So before we go into the battle, or actually in the fighting simulation scene, I want to make sure that the game manager is actually taking care of about everything we need for the fighting scene, like doing the saving, doing the loading, and of course see if a battle has been actually fighted against somebody, and if the battle has been won or lost. To do so, we're gonna go into the start function of the country manager at first, where we just have the add country data. After the add country data, we want to take or use a small if statement, and we want to check if the game manager.instance battle has ended. If that is going to be true, we want to make sure that we have won the battle. So we're gonna use an AND statement, so two of that AND symbols, and here's an AND statement, or AND operator in this case. And the game manager.instance battle has won, or battle won. If that is the case, we want to make sure that we're gonna find the object we want to update, or actually the last fighted scene, and set this one to be the one the player has won against, and set this one to be the tribe player. And that's what we want to do at start in here. So we say game object with a big G dot find. Now we want to find the object with the name of the attacked country. So we say game manager.find the game manager, game object.find game manager.instance then the attacked country, which is going to return a string. In this case is going to be the name. Then we want to get the component from this, which is of type again country handler, like this, open close parentheses. And what we want to do is we want to set the country inside dot, and inside we want to set the tribe is going to be equal to country.thetribes.player. This way we're gonna make sure that when we as a player have won a battle, we want to get the tribe, or actually the country, to be marked as our country. Also, what we want to do is we want to set the EXP reward, and of course we want to set the money reward after we have won. So what we can do, or should maybe do to easying stuff up, is we're gonna catch that finding in here of the country handler, get the component, and do the changes directly to that. So what we do is we create a new, just a local variable of country handler or instance. I just name it count. Is going to be equal to, and now we're gonna copy that complete part in here, gonna extract it and pass it over here. So we now have the country handler of the currently attacked country and its game object, and everything is stored inside of that. What we now do is we just take this name and say count.country.tribe is going to be equal to the country tribe player. Also, what we can set is the game manager.instance and now we can set the EXP directly from count.country and in here we're gonna have the EXP reward. And we can do the same with the money reward. So game manager dot instance dot money is going to be equal to count dot country dot money reward. Don't forget to save. So now we're gonna add, or actually, well, currently we don't add, but we set this one to be the same, but we want to add this to whatever we currently have. So we say plus equal in this particular case. So we're gonna add the money reward to whatever the current EXP and money amount is stored in the game manager when the battle has been won. So we take all of that and pass that directly to this. There are several possibilities we can do that. We could even go in and save the EXP and money reward as a temporary variable directly in the game manager and set this one inside of that, but I believe we don't need so. The last one, after we have done the whole start stuff and we have set the rewards because of our battle, we want to make sure that we're gonna save the game. That means we can do that directly inside the if statement, but that means it would only save actually when the battle has been ended and the battle has been won, but not if we have lost. So we can actually do that directly under the if statement, like game manager dot instance dot saving. So we're gonna save the complete data about all the countries we have set that stuff about. Okay, so the next one is we want to make sure that we load the correct game data when we are entering that beforehand. And the best way is doing that directly in the add country data. So what we're gonna do is we go into add country data, go down after we have actually added all to the country list, and in here we're gonna say game manager.instance, whoops, not a comma but a point, or dot instance dot loading. Open close parentheses and close the line with a semicolon. So what we're gonna have, we're gonna start the game, we're gonna add the country data, and while doing so we're gonna load it and tint the countries according to this. Then we're gonna go back and here, or actually go forward in the start, we're gonna check if a battle has been ended, or well, actually end has been won, and update the country which we have fighted against according to be the player's country now in its color. And we're gonna go and set the money and the EXP reward as well. Also, when we are going to save, well, we might go into and need to tint the countries from any other point once again to update that this player actually got the correct color in this case, because it's not retinting everything after we have done that actually, and not after we were saving this one in here. So we might go in and tint the countries once again directly in here, maybe before or even after we were done with saving. It doesn't really matter. I believe we're gonna do that before the saving. So what we can do is we can just call tint countries, open close parentheses, and end the line with a semicolon. So once again we're gonna add the country data, go through that, we load while doing so and tint the countries according to the loaded data. Then after we have done all that tinting again, we're gonna check if there has been a battle or not, and if it's so, we're gonna update everything inside as well, and we're gonna retint the data. We could also keep that tinting directly inside the if statement as well, so we don't need to retint it if there is no battle won, because country data already is taking care of that at this particular point. Okay, so the next one is we want to create a little fighting scene which we are able to perform or actually go in while or when we have selected the attack button directly on that, and we want to create a little function of course for this as well, so we are able to fight. So what I'm gonna do is I go back to Unity pretty quick. Let the compiler run if there are any errors, but I believe there won't anything. You can even go in and save that, and you might want to create a prefab of your game manager by creating a little prefabs folder in here and drag this one just directly from the hierarchy panel inside that prefabs folder. You don't need to, but maybe later on you might want to rely to everything inside. We don't have to input anything at this point. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new scene in the game. So I'm gonna go and click File, New Scene. It's nothing fancy, just an empty scene which is holding our fighting script. So we can actually perform again a little calculation and just give a 50% of chance to win or lose the battle. So once we are in our new scene, we can create actually an empty game object or whatever. You can actually also make use of any other one you already have. In my case, I just name this one Fight Simulator or something. Actually, it is not taking any inputs. It will just run at start. You can even pass this one over directly to the main camera. Actually, you don't need that if you have a full fighting system. In this case, what I want to do is I want to create a new simple C# script for this simulation part, and here once again you don't need that. I just name this one Fight Sim, and I pass this one over directly to the Fight Simulator game object after the compiler is done, of course. And once again, open this one up in MonoDevelop, or for you maybe in Visual Studio, depending on whatever you're using. And what we want to pass in is actually just, as I said before, a little simple IE numerator, which is just doing a little calculation for us, and after 2 seconds or something, the game will go back to its original. So we just need start, we don't need update. Also, what you want to do is you want to go to your build settings in the project and add the open scene in here. And since it's not has been saved, I want to call this one just Fight. So there's another one I just deleted beforehand, so it's just grayed out and not existing anymore. Doesn't really matter for you and for now. Make also sure that your main scene, in my case the demo scene, is inside as well. We're gonna go into that in a moment anyways. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we create a new IE numerator. We call it Fight, open close parentheses, and in curly braces we're gonna just say yield return new. Now we're gonna wait some seconds. In this case, wait 4 seconds. In my case, maybe 2 seconds. And after 2 seconds, I want to do a little calculation for a random number. So I create a new integer and call this one just num. And I want to have a random dot range and just a number between 0 and 1. And since integers are not taking the maximum, if I would type in a 1, it would only return in a 0, so we need to pass in a 2. So 2 is in this case ignored, and you have to type if you want to have something in between 0 and 1, and in this case only 0 or only 1, since there are only integer numbers in return. So what we want to do is, if num is going to be equal to equal to 0, then we want to do something, and if it's not 0, we want to do something else. So we're gonna create an else after this one. So in this case it would be true. We want to return something different, and in this case it's going to be, if this is 0, we want to tell the game manager dot instance dot battle has 1 is not going to be true, so we're gonna set this one to false, because I want to make sure that when this random number we're choosing a 0, I just lose a battle. That's just an easy simulation, as I told you before. And if that's not the case, I want to make sure, so in this case if it's 1, I want to make sure that we win the game. After we have done all the stuff in here, we also want to tell the game manager dot instance dot battle has ended at that particular point, and we're gonna set this one to true, of course. And we want to go back to our demo scene in this case, or whatever your map scene is. So we need to make sure that we are using the namespace Unity Engine.scene management. So we can say scene manager dot load scene. What's the scene we want to load? As I type is 1 in quotes, you can use integers and whatever. Make sure you have no typos and everything is case sensitive as well. And that's what we're gonna do just in that fighting scene. But we need to start the coroutine pretty quick, so we type in the start function, start coroutine, open close parentheses, and inside we're gonna type in fight, open close parentheses once again because we call it function, and that's it. So when this fighting simulation is going to start, it's starting the coroutine, waiting for 2 seconds, choosing a random number, tells us if we have won or lost depending on that random number. Then we set also the battle has been ended as well, and we want to load back to our normal country challenge or country scene. And when this is happening, we're gonna load the country manager once again, and everything in here will be go over. We also will go over and save the data, and of course load the data if there is any before that particular fight. But what we need to do is actually we need to have something for our fighting, for our attack button. So what we're gonna do is we go and back to our demo scene in this case, just load this one up. And we want to create a connection to our attack panel's attack button in this case. So we're gonna create a little function for this one in the country manager as well. So it's nothing fancy at all, it just loads our fighting scene when we are pressing on the attack button. So make sure you implement once again using Unity Engine.scene management in the country manager. After you have done that, scroll down and create a new public void start fight function. It doesn't take any arguments, so it's just open close parentheses. And in here we just say scene manager dot load scene, open close parentheses, and in quotes fight. Again, don't forget this is case sensitive, otherwise it might not work. And you can even go in and load this one with the integer inside the build. I'm gonna show you the integer pretty quick. When you go to the build settings and you have added already the demo and the fighting scene, you will see they get a number in the very end. And you can also use that integer number to load the scene. So you don't need to take care of the name in this case, but can take care of the integer if you like to. If they are in unordered space already, of course make sure that you use the names, which might be better than using the integers in this particular case. Okay, so once you have done that, you're gonna drag your country manager into the on-click event into the attack button. So I'm gonna unhide the attack panel pretty quick for you. Just select the attack button, press on the plus in here, drag in the country manager into the empty slot and call country manager start fight. And that's it for the attack button. So every time we're gonna press on that button, we're gonna load the fighting scene. Okay, so far so good. And what we already have been taken care of, I believe so, is that the game manager knows who we are attacking when we are pressing on one of that particular whoever we are attacking in here, which we just do in the show GUI. So we set the country name to the attack country, and we're gonna reset the battle has ended and battle has won in the show GUI as well. If you don't have this one, make sure you have that, of course, and there we should be able to do a fight now. Don't forget to save everything you can think of and everything we have worked on, saving, loading. About the deleting, we can just implement a delete button for this one as well, but we need to do that directly in the country manager with a public function at this case. So you might, if you want to use that later on, you might want to use a country manager instead of the game manager, because buttons will lose the connection to the game manager because it is taken care of with the destroy and load stuff. So the game objects, when they are not directly on a prefab, for example, will lose the connection to whatever the buttons are calling them. So you have to find them, or you have to reconnect them every time you load the level. However, this should be everything we wanted to go over, or I wanted to go over, at least for the complete management stuff in here. And let's see how our game, or actually how the territories are working right now, and let's do some bug fixing if there is a need for it. So the game has been loaded, as you can see. For you it might not have been loaded already because the game manager, or you haven't created a save file in this particular case. For you it's just telling you no save file found, and then it should be say, okay, there's a save game. So again, we still have that possibilities in here. Everything is as we left it. This one is player based currently because I was just testing around, I believe. And when we're just trying to attack one, like this one for example, we're gonna load something and then we're gonna go back. And as you can see, it seems that we have won the fight. This one, this field in this case, has been set to the player field because it's not selectable anymore, it has no overlay anymore, and so on. And we can also go into the don't destroy on load game manager, and you can see we already got 30 EXP, 2000 of money, and the battle has been won. So after this one, we just loaded the game to whatever it has been, then we have overwritten everything, and then we have saved the game once again. So what we can do is, now we can see if the 1500 and the 20 XP is going to be counted up when we are winning the game. So let's try that. Nope, we have lost. You can see that always in the game manager. Now we won. As you can see, it has been added in here. The same game has been loaded to whatever its original state has been on. Then we're gonna pass over all the data in here. So we now have 3,500 money and 50 EXP. And we save the game to whatever it has been. When we now start the game once again, and it loads everything in here once again, you see that it is still at the same stuff we just left it. And the same for the EXP and the money rewards as well. And we can now go forward and try to get and rule the whole land, or the whole country, and of course get all the EXP and money we are able to get from every district or every country in here. As you can see, I took over another one. Now we have 6,500 money and 90 EXP, and it's going forward until we actually have won everything inside the game. Now you can see everything is cool. The only thing you want to make sure is maybe later on is checking if we have overtaken the whole world or the whole countries at all to get some kind of, hey, you won the complete game. And that can be done just by an easy for loop, and you just every time you win, you just loop through it and check if all the countries are owned by the player. And if it's not, the game is not won at all, but just yeah, it is you have to fight more actually. And again, you can do it with just an easy for loop, just by looping through the complete country list. I believe now you should know how the for loops are working. If not, feel free to ask, of course. Just loop through it and then see if the country.tribe is matching player. And if it's not matching player, of course you have lost, and you can return and do all the other stuff again. Okay, that's everything about the first four series about the countries and handling all of that. If you like the series, of course, feel free to donate as well as a Patreon or the donator has done. If you have anything you want to know about that series, or actually you want to see more in that, feel free to donate as well and tell me what you want to have inside that game. And that's everything I wanted to cover in this actually half complete, I believe, tutorial series about Risk game to territories. Thanks for watching the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thumb this video up if you like it, and feel free to become my patron or donate by using PayPal to support me and my channel in the future. All links will be below in the description. See you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.